Let's analyze the ARP process. The ARP process is all about figuring out the MAC address of a known IP address. If we look at the output of our ARP cache right now, by typing in ARP -A on our PC, we'll see that there is no entry for the default gateway. Our default gateway lives at 10.1.1.1, and we don't know that. We don't know its MAC address. So I'm going to trigger the ARP process by sending a ping to outside of my network. So ping 192.0.2.1. And you'll notice here that it was successful. And if we look at our ARP cache now, we'll see that we have an entry. ARP -A says 10.1.1.1 is reachable at that particular MAC address. So let's analyze the ARP request that was sent and the ARP reply that we received back. So going over to our packet capturing software, Wireshark, which is readily available for free on the internet, we can see that we had 3 ARP messages, but only 2 of them apply to this particular conversation. That's it. And that is the top 2. The bottom one happened after the top 2 occurred. And the bottom one is not mine. That is not mine whatsoever. So why in the world is it showing up in this output? Remember that the ARP request is a broadcast. And what that means is that if anybody in my local area network sends out a broadcast, I will receive it on my interface. So look closely here at the source of these particular messages. The source of this broadcast ended in CE47, the MAC address. And it says, whoever is 10.1.1.1, tell 10.1.1.20 your MAC address. Well, that's not me. I'm not 10.1.1.20. I'm 10.1.1.10. So this is just a broadcast ARP request that I received on my interface in my local area network. That is how broadcasting works. Am I going to respond to this, right? The question is, if you are 10.1.1.1, give me your MAC address. That's what the ARP request is. Well, I'm not going to respond to it because I'm not 10.1.1.1. I'm 10.1.1.10. So until somebody asks me for my MAC address, I'm not going to respond. So here we go. Let's go back up here to the broadcast we sent. All right, this is the one we sent. And you can see that because down here in the output, it says 0800271406D6. That's me. That's PC1. That's the PC we're on right now. And the destination is all Fs. So this ARP request, and how do I know it's an ARP request? It says right here. This ARP request is sourced from the local MAC address and sent to absolutely everybody in the local area network. So we send it out. Now, who is it going to? Well, it's going to everybody. But what specifically is in that message? Do you remember? It says, who has 10.1.1.1? Tell 10.1.1.10. So let's open up our ARP packet here. And if we scroll down, that's essentially what we're saying. If you are 10.1.1.1, give me your MAC address. So let's now take a look at the router, because the router is the device that is going to be responding to this. So the router, as you can see, let's look up here. This is the information we want to focus on here. The router in this case received the ARP request. The ARP request came from 10.1.1.10 with a source MAC address of 06D6. The destination was 10.1.1.1. So inside of this ARP request, I'm saying, if you are 10.1.1.1, give me your MAC address. So the router is 10.1.1.1. So the router is going to respond back. Let's shut off our debug here so it stops disrupting us. Shut off the debug by typing in UAll, which is short for undebug all. So since the router is 10.1.1.1, the router has to now craft an ARP reply. So the ARP reply is going to come from the source address of 10.1.1.1 and the source MAC address that's ending in 7340. The destination is going to be who? Well, whoever originally sent the ARP request, so 10.1.1.10, and its local MAC address of 06D6. So notice how the ARP reply that's being created here is unicasted. It's coming from a specific source IP and source MAC, going to a specific destination IP and destination MAC. So it's both a unicast packet and a unicast frame that is going to come back. So that is sent now back out on the wire. And if we go to our client, we'll see that our client received that ARP reply. And the ARP reply, it says here that it is in the message 10111 is at the following MAC address. So 10111 is at this MAC address. Sourced from 7340, which is the last 4 digits of our router's MAC address, coming to 06D6, which is the last 4 digits of our client machine. So the ARP reply, if we look down here a little further, you'll see that it's unicasted based on the source MAC here, the destination MAC here. So it's explicit MAC addresses that are being put in the frame, and it says here it's an ARP reply. So this ARP process is designed to allow our devices to figure out what the MAC address is of the device they're trying to talk to, so that way they can complete the frames, and those frames can then be sent out on the wire. Because without source and destination MAC address, you can't send an Ethernet frame out on the wire. So we could have either specific addresses in the frame, both for the source and destination, and that would be a unicast frame. But we could have a broadcast frame by having a specific address in the source, but then the destination would be all Fs. Notice we also received another one right here. It says what? It says, who is 10111? Tell 10111. Am I going to respond to that? Nope. Because I'm not 10111, so it's not my responsibility to respond to this. So that's just a process of broadcasting. Every single broadcast frame will be received by every single device in the local area network. And that's a great example of it right there.